His company is known for spoofing outgoing phone numbers to make it look like they're calling from a local pizzeria before taking action. The audience laughed loudly as Kimmel painted a picture of a once imposing Trump now begging for money from a man who makes a living by defrauding the poor and desperate to get rich. It's an image that stands in stark contrast to the image of wealth and success that Trump has carefully cultivated over the years. But Kimmel hasn't stopped there. The idea of Trump's lavish property in Florida being towed away is beyond exciting. After all, this is a man who has built his entire brand on the idea that he is too big to fail, too rich to be touched by the law. But as Kimmel happily points out, even the strong can collapse when they're drowning in debt and legal trouble. And Trump, it seems, is no exception. Of course, no one should be surprised by this incident. Trump's life is one long series of scams, a never-ending shell game that keeps him one step ahead of the law and his creditors. But the most interesting thing is this. Just hours after posting bail, Trump was back on his incompetent social network, Truth Social, screaming that the New York charges were an election interference scam. The election was orchestrated by Joe Biden's fraud. Today, please remember that all of these lawsuits, charges, and prosecutions were orchestrated and coordinated by fraudulent Joe Biden, Trump posted. I have to say this especially bothers me because fraud is his nickname for Hillary. It's Fraud Hillary. You can't just switch nicknames. You can't have Magic Johnson and Magic Larry Bird. This is just lazy on Donald Trump's part. And Donald Trump's laziness is really the only kind he has, isn't it? This is a man who spends his days playing golf, spreading lies on social media, selling to unsuspecting people, and abusing skin tone sprayers. The only thing he has is a long streak of freedom from crime, but that luck may finally be running out. Gui I kien fan hoi bang gio kien ben kach ban dich jantuk hien jan lu. Kimmel opened his show last night with a scathing monologue about former President Donald Trump and his mounting legal troubles. Wasting no time, Kimmel roasted Trump's hush money case and the recent gag order imposed by the judge. Despite drowning in legal troubles, Trump continues to rant online like a madman off his meds. With a mischievous glint in his eye, the late-night host turned his attention to the disgraced ex-president's increasing predicaments. "So what's going on with our favorite Florida retiree?" Kimmel asked, his voice dripping with sarcasm. "Well, it seems that the man who once claimed he was so rich he didn't need anyone's money has found himself in a bit of a financial pickle. That's right. The self-proclaimed billionaire and noted grifter extraordinaire had to scrape together a whopping $175 million bond to stay out of jail. And how did he do it? By turning to a specialty insurance company run by a billionaire known as the king of subprime car loans. Kimmel couldn't resist mocking Trump's latest financial fiasco. Donald Trump pulled a rabbit out of his MAGA hat. He managed to post that $175 million bond he couldn't get. He got one courtesy of the night's specialty insurance company, which I'm guessing did not Google the phrase, "Who is Donald Trump?" The audience erupted in laughter as Kimmel continued his mockery. Somewhere there's a loan officer who just got called into his boss's office. You loaned $175 million to who? Kimmel then introduced the man behind the loan, billionaire Don Hankey, also known as the king of subprime car loans. This is the man with the good sense to loan a lot of money to Donald Trump. There he is, the next owner of Mar-a-Lago, billionaire Don Hankey, also known as the king of subprime car loans. Don Hankey sells loans to people with less than exceptional credit. Forbes said his company repossesses about 250 cars a day. Kimmel couldn't contain his glee at the irony of it all. Our former president got a loan from a repo man, not just any run-of-the-mill repo man. For a guy who's supposedly so tough, Trump is acting like a whiny little baby who got his rattle taken away. Kimmel put it perfectly. I know he's not ashamed of anything, but he should at least be ashamed of this. Trump also had the nerve to call the charges in his latest New York fraud case a fabricated election interference con job, which is just rich coming from him. He then launched into a fake game show bit playing both host and contestant. "Who is Donald Trump?" Kimmel asked in his best Alex Trebek impression, answering his own question. This category was cheatiest golfers, and she got it. The audience roared with laughter at Kimmel's quick wit and spot-on delivery. It was a perfect encapsulation of Trump's entire persona. A cheating, lying con artist who will say anything to avoid accountability. And really, isn't that what Trump's whole life has been? One big game of Jeopardy where the categories are things like fraud, corruption, and narcissism, and he always seems to have the right answer. Sorry to intervene, guys. I want to encourage you to stick around until the very end. By watching the full video, we can make sure that our message reaches both our die-hard progressive fans and our beloved MAGA crowd. After all, what's the point of roasting Trump if his most loyal supporters don't get to witness every glorious second of his humiliation? Kimmel couldn't help but marvel at Trump's ability to prioritize his sleaziness even as his legal troubles mount. But even with the walls closing in, Trump still finds time for his favorite pastime, being a creep, he said, with a mix of amusement and disgust. Donald Trump thinks a gag order is what Melania does when she sees him get out of the hot tub. Donald Trump thinks a gag order is what Melania does when she sees him get out of the hot tub, Kimmel quipped, his face contorting into a grimace as he painted a mental picture none of us wanted. The audience responded with a symphony of groans and uncomfortable chuckles, grateful for the laugh but wishing they could bleach the image from their brains. But Kimmel wasn't done riffing on the former president's daily routine. When he's not busy ogling his own wife, the former president apparently spends most of his days ranting, raving, spray tanning, and golfing. Spent the whole day ranting and raving. That's how he spends most of his days now, ranting, raving, spray tanning, and golf. But he did make a trip to Grand Rapids, Michigan, where even in times of strife, he did his best to cheer everyone up. The sarcasm dripped from Kimmel's voice as he mocked Trump's behavior, which seems more befitting of a petulant child than a grown man facing serious legal consequences. But then again, when has Trump ever acted like an adult? Incredibly, the twice-impeached ex-president managed to pry himself away from the tanning bed just long enough to grace Grand Rapids, Michigan with his presence. And in true Trump fashion, he used the opportunity to spread some good old-fashioned fear and treason. "If we don't win on November 5th, Trump warned, his voice dripping with manufactured urgency, I think our country is going to cease to exist. It could be the last election we ever have." Kimmel couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Wow, that's a really uplifting message for the people of Michigan," he said, shaking his head in disbelief. "Nothing like threatening the end of democracy to really get the crowd going." But that's the thing about Trump. He thrives on chaos and division. He doesn't care about uniting the country or solving real problems. He just wants to keep his base angry and afraid, so they'll keep buying into his lies and funding his legal defense. It's a sick and twisted game, but it's one that Trump has been playing for years. And as long as he's got enablers in the Republican Party and a rabid fan base willing to believe anything he says, he'll keep right on playing it. So what does this all mean for America as the 2024 election draws near? Nothing good, unfortunately. Trump's legal peril is growing by the day, but his disciples are only getting more detached from reality. As Kimmel noted, these are dark times for our democracy. The rule of law is hanging by a thread, and conspiracy theories are spreading like wildfire. Comedians like him are using laughter to shine a light on the absurdity of it all. But that alone won't be enough to pull us back from the brink. At the end of the day, it's up to every one of us to stay engaged, speak truth to power, and never stop demanding better from our leaders. The future of our country depends on it. It won't be easy, but if we look to brave voices like Kimmel for inspiration, we just might have a shot. He's shown us that even in the darkest of times, humor can be a powerful tool for sparking outrage and stirring people to action. So, let's follow his lead and never stop calling out the bullshit, no matter how exhausting it gets. Because if we surrender to the stupidity now, we may not get another chance to save this beautiful, messy, maddening experiment in democracy we call America. The joke's on us if we let the punchline be the death of truth itself. That's right. The loud chants of "lock him up" may soon be echoing from an unlikely source. Melania Trump herself. After her husband Donald was convicted on all charges in the Stormy Daniels hush money case, reports are swirling that the former First Lady is seriously considering divorcing the disgraced ex-president. For years, Melania stood by her man through scandal after scandal. The Access Hollywood tape, allegations from Playboy models and porn stars, even her husband's own words about groping and pursuing married women. But this criminal conviction, overpaying hush money to cover up an affair with Stormy Daniels, may finally be the last straw. In bombshell courtroom testimony, Trump's former fixer, Michael Cohen, revealed the calloused way Trump reacted to potentially devastating his marriage. When Cohen raised concerns about how Melania would take the Stormy scandal, Trump coldly replied, "How long do you think I'll be on the market for? Not long." Trump will be sentenced on July 11th, and his lawyers told him you should get. While Trump jokes about his potential prison sentence, sources claim Melania is finally at her breaking point over the endless tsunami of tawdry revelations. One insider alleges the typically icy former model has been boiling with rage in private over the lurid Stormy Daniels trial. Melania is utterly humiliated and disgusted by everything that came out, the source revealed. She put up with the pussy-grabbing tape, the Karen McDougal affair, even those ridiculous mushroom D-bleep-K jokes. But hearing all the gory details of Donald's seedy tryst with a porn star and how callously he reacted to potentially blowing up their marriage, that was the final straw. The source alleges that behind closed doors, Melania has been lashing out in intense fury over her husband's sordid misdeeds. She's called him an embarrassing, disgusting pig who has humiliated her in front of the world one too many times. Melania has thrown things, smashed vases, even physically attacked Trump a few times when the anger boils over. These bombshell allegations make the outwardly calm and reserved former First Lady's private reaction seem more like the legendary antics of an enraged Hollywood diva. And Melania isn't just stewing in anger behind the scenes. Multiple sources claim the former model is actively exploring options for a divorce that could finally extricate her from the Trump family circus once and for all. One family friend stated, "Melania has been meeting with lawyers to weigh options for divorcing Donald's ass and taking him for everything he's worth. She's done playing the obedient wife after this latest sick betrayal." Another source alleges Melania has already taken the first legal steps, filing a request for the former president's financials, business dealings, and assets to be examined by forensic accountants. Melania is out for scorched earth revenge. If she can prove his business was commingling funds to pay off mistresses like Stormy, she can make a criminal case to take away everything. The source ominously warned, Melania won't go down as the punchline to a bad joke. She'll burn Trump's world to the ground on her way out the door if that's what it takes. While the White House has denied these bombshell divorce allegations, even Trump himself seemed to tacitly admit his marriage is hanging by a thread in a recent interview. When asked by a Fox News host if Melania was doing okay after the Stormy trial, Trump gave a telling response. Meanwhile, at the end of a White House press conference, a reporter asked President Biden about Trump blaming him for being convicted. It's very hard for her. She has to read all this crap, Trump admitted, about his wife's mindset, unable to maintain his usual bravado. His discouraged tone and body language spoke volumes about the turmoil likely raging behind the scenes over the hush money conviction. And, while Trump desperately tries to project nonchalance about the legal saga's impact, the woman at the center of the scandal is not letting him off so easily. In a recent interview, porn star Stormy Daniels issued some pointed marital advice for the former First Lady. "Melania needs to leave him," Daniels stated bluntly, "not because of what he did with me or other women, but because he is a convicted felon. He's neither Teflon Don nor Teflon Con anymore. It's been proven he is abusive. He was found liable for sexual assault, tax fraud, and is now a criminal." Daniels didn't hold back, adding that in her opinion, Trump should be sentenced to jail and community service, working for the less fortunate, or being the volunteer punching bag at a women's shelter. The porn star's harsh words seemed to have struck a deep, insecure nerve with the thin-skinned and easily rattled Trump. Sources claim he completely lost his mind upon hearing about Daniels' advice that Melania should leave him. He was ranting and raving, working himself into an absolute frenzy over Melania potentially leaving him, one insider revealed. Another described the scene, alleging at one point Trump dropped to his knees and desperately begged, "Melania, please, I'll do anything. I'll get rid of the tanning bed. I'll never cheat or pay off a porn star again. Just don't go." The first-hand accounts of Trump's panicked meltdown lay bare just how desperately the disgraced former president is clinging to his marriage in the wake of the conviction. According to sources, in a moment of sheer insecurity, Trump tried making wild promises to preserve his union, vowing to sell his beloved business empire, quit his favorite Diet Coke and French fry indulgences, and even proposing to move his family to a private island to escape the media glare. He just kept rambling and throwing out all these grandiose ideas. "Bargaining like a madman," one confidant recalled. At one point, he got on the phone with Melania and straight up said, "Babe, I'll give you literally anything you want. The tower, my golf courses, all of it. Just please don't leave me over this stormy bullshit," the source added with a chuckle. When Melania basically told him to go pound sand and hung up, Donald looked like someone had run over his daughter's litter of pedigree puppies. It's clear that more than Trump's business empire or political future is at stake. His very ego and sense of self-worth seem inextricably tied to his marriage surviving this sordid saga. Facing a potential divorce from Melania after admitting under oath that he cheated on her with a porn star appears to have the self-professed alpha male shook to his core. So will Melania actually heed Stormy Daniels' advice to leave her convicted, felon husband? Or will Trump's feverish pleading and promises be enough to preserve their marriage, at least for now? The former model certainly has plenty of financial incentive to stick it out. With estimates, Trump is still worth over $3 billion, despite his mounting legal bills. And it's not just money keeping them together. There's also their young son, Barron, to consider. While past first couples have gotten divorced, the mere prospect of Barron's parents splitting up in such a sordid, internationally watched saga would be a scarring new level of humiliation for the teenager. Then there's Trump's ego dewey. Could the famously insecure and image-obsessed former president's psyche even survive his third divorce, playing out for all to see? Especially under the cloud of felony convictions and cheating revelations. Let's be real. If Melania leaves him over this whole mess, it could actually break Donald mentally and emotionally, warned one long-time Trump employee. His sense of self is so wrapped up in that marriage and portraying a persona of alpha male success. Having to admit he cheated, got busted, got convicted, and got dumped by his supermodel wife over it? That's a hurt that could shatter the core of who he sees himself as. Conversely, Melania, permanently removing herself and Barron from the relentless glare of the Trump freak show, could finally be the chance at peace and normalcy she's desperately craved. Some speculate. No more bombshell affairs, cringe-worthy sex scandals, legal headaches, or perma-scale paparazzi stakeouts. Just a quiet life of luxury, free from her husband's insatiable need for media limelight and adoring crowds. An existence where she could potentially rebrand herself and finally escape the shadow of her marriage to one of the most polarizing figures in modern history. Melania is no fool. She knows how toxic and radioactive Trump's brand has become, noted one family friend. Cutting him and his baggage loose could be her reset button to rehabilitating her image, playing the scorned woman and showing she did the dignified thing by leaving that scumbag. So which path will Melania choose? The continued roller coaster of international infamy, mockery, and scandal by Trump's side? Or a new chapter of privacy, luxury, and vindication as a freshly single woman? Only she knows for sure. But one thing is certain. Her next move could make for one of the messiest, highest profile, and most talked about splits of the century. No, he didn't have a license. So what does the future hold for the Trump family as this saga continues to unfold? Will Melania become the first lady to initiate divorce proceedings over a criminal conviction? Or will her husband's desperate pleading and promises win her over, keeping their dysfunctional union intact? Whichever way it plays out, the entire world will be watching with rapt attention. Because few things captivate the public's obsession quite like the downfall of the rich, powerful, and supposed untouchable. And for Donald Trump, seeing the very persona and marriage he so obsessively curated get dismantled by hubris and scandal would be the ultimate humbling, a karmic bite of justice served up by the woman he so brazenly cheated on and betrayed. So keep those eyeballs glued to the Trump divorce watch. This saga is far from over, and the drama has only just begun.